Hello. Today's afternoon story, is from Tatterhood and Other Tales, and it is called The Young Head of the Family. Long ago, in China, there lived an old farmer with 3 sons. 2 of the sons, who had recently married, brought their wives home, and all lived together as a family. Since there was no mother in the household, every time the young wives wanted to visit their parents and relatives in another village, they had to ask their husband's father if they might go, for this was the custom at that time. They asked to visit their relatives so often that the old farmer became very annoyed. "You are always asking me to let you go off to visit your relatives," he said. "When I refuse, you think me very hard-hearted. Very well, you may go, but only on the condition that you each bring me back what I ask." "Yes, of course," they said quickly. "One of you must bring me fire wrapped in paper, and the other must bring me wind in paper. If you cannot do that, do not come back." The young wives agreed without thinking, and happily set out to walk the long distance to their own village. On the way, one of the wives' sandal straps broke, and they sat down by the roadside to fix it. Only then did they realize that it would be impossible to bring back wind in paper, or fire wrapped in paper. They sat by the roadside in despair, for they did not want to leave their husbands. Along came a girl riding a water buffalo. Seeing their unhappy faces, she asked if she could help them. "No one can help us," they cried. "What our husband's father asks is impossible." But the girl insisted that she might be able to help, and at last they told her their story. "Come home with me, and I will show you how to bring him what he asks," said the girl. Off they went to her home, where she showed them a paper lantern with a candle inside. "There, you see, is fire in paper, and here," she said, picking up a paper fan and waving it, "is wind in paper." The young women thanked her and went happily on their way. After a cheerful visit with relatives and friends in their villages, they took a paper lantern and a fan and returned to their husbands. "I told you not to return unless you brought the 2 things I asked for," said the old farmer sharply. "But we have them," they answered, and they gave him the paper lantern and the fan. The old man was astonished. "Tell me how you solved this riddle," he demanded. Then they told him of meeting the young girl on the water buffalo and the advice she had given them. "That is a very clever young woman," the old farmer thought. "She would make a good wife for my youngest son." So he at once set about finding if the young girl was already betrothed. Upon learning that she was not, he sent a matchmaker to her family to arrange the marriage. All the arrangements took place as planned, and after the marriage celebration was over, the old farmer said to his family, "Since the wife of my youngest son is so wise, she will now be the head of the family. You must ask her advice and direction in all things." The new young head of the household told the men of their family that they must neither go to the fields nor return home empty-handed. Each day they were to bring fertilizer of some kind from the farm buildings to the fields, and each day gather sticks of firewood on their return. In this way their crops thrived, and the family always had a supply of firewood. When there were only a few sticks to gather, they were told to bring back stones. Soon, near the house, there was a pile of stones that could be used for building. One day, a gem dealer came riding by and stopped to examine the pile of stones. Among them, he saw a stone that contained a block of precious jade. He at once went to the house and asked to talk to the head of the family. He was, of course, surprised to see so young a woman, but so skillfully did she manage the bargaining that he finally agreed to pay a very high price for the stones. He said nothing about the jade among the stones, but he promised to return in 3 days' time with the money. That night, the young wife thought about the matter and decided the heap of stones must contain some kind of valuable gem. She went to her father-in-law and told him to invite the dealer to dinner. Then she advised the men of the family to talk about precious stones and how they could be recognized when found on the ground. While the men feasted and talked, the young head of the family listened behind a curtain. When she had the information she needed, she went outside to the pile of stones and found the one that was valuable. Then she brought it into the house and put it away. The next day the dealer returned and discovered the valuable jade was no longer there. He realized his trick had been discovered, and he sought out the young head of the family. Again she bargained firmly with the dealer. She would not agree to sell the jade unless he also bought the pile of building stones, and, after long discussion, she secured a proper payment for both. The old farmer and his family were very proud of her business ability. Now they were prosperous and decided to build a much larger, more comfortable home. Inscribed on the gateway to the new house were the words, "No sorrow." Not long after, a Mandarin government official came by and, seeing the unusual words over the entrance, ordered his servants to set down his sedan chair. "That is a very arrogant motto," he said with displeasure. "No family is without sorrow. You mock the gods, and I shall fine you for this impudence." "This family has been happy and fortunate," the young head of the household answered politely. "The words 'no sorrow' mean, 'let all who enter here leave sorrow at the gate.'" The Mandarin was not appeased. "I order you to weave me a piece of cloth as long as this road." "Very well," she answered. "As soon as your excellency has found the 2 ends of the road and told me the exact number of feet in its length, I will at once begin weaving." The Mandarin knew he had been at fault in hastily imposing such a fine, but he was irritated at the young woman's clever answer. He added angrily, "And I also fine you as much oil as there is water in the sea." "Certainly," she answered. "As soon as you have measured the sea and sent me the correct number in gallons, I will begin to press the oil from my beans." "Since you are so clever and witty, perhaps you can read my mind," he snapped. "If you can, I withdraw the fines. I hold this pet bird in my hand. Now, tell me whether I mean to squeeze it to death or to let it fly in the air." "Well," said the young woman, "I am an obscure commoner, and you are a famous official. If you are no more knowing than I, you have no right to fine me at all. Now, I stand with 1 foot on the one side of my threshold, and the other foot on the other side. Tell me whether I mean to go in or come out. If you cannot guess my mind, you should not require me to guess yours." Of course, the Mandarin could not guess her intention, and was forced to admit to himself the wisdom of her words. He haughtily took his departure, and the family lived happily ever after under its chosen head. The end.